Well, it would seem that Congressman Ron Paul has never met a government entitlement program that he didn't want to scratch off the books or at least shrink. But speaking Tuesday in Iowa, the presidential candidate admitted some things are just too ingrained in the public to change.
Where would you cut? Well, the first place I won't start would be on those that we have taught to be dependent on government. Now, there's a lot of those programs I don't like. I don't think they should be started, but we have conditioned a lot of people to become very dependent on checks coming from the government. I think of the elderly and the children and the sick people, and for us to say this is where we cut and balance the budget, no way. That's not going to happen.
NBC's campaign embed Anthony Terrell has been traveling with Ron Paul. He joins me now from Des Moines. Anthony, we've been watching this what I would call it as a slow evolution of Ron Paul on the rhetoric when it comes to particularly the social safety net programs.
Right, Chuck. In that same speech in Dubuque, he went on to describe how there's 45 million people on food stamps, but then defended the food stamp program, saying people are out of jobs and they're hungry. What can you do? So Ron Paul's running on this compassionate message. 2 weeks ago, in an interview, he said no one can compete with him as the most compassionate candidate in the race, and I think recently we're starting to see that in his message.
Well, I was just going to say there was another thing he brought up at the debates when it came to veterans, and his first TV ad was about veterans speaking on behalf of Ron Paul, also who is a military veteran, one of two in the race right now for the presidency, as saying he's somebody that has protected benefits.
That's right, Chuck. So Ron Paul's been running on this military support recently. This came after him and Rick Santorum had that spar about Iran at a previous debate. And after that, he's continued to pound home that he's gotten more donations from active duty military candidates than all other candidates combined, including President Obama. So he's hammering home his military creds, and now he's also pointing to entitlements as something that he will defend. And he says the reason he can defend the domestic entitlements is by bringing the troops home and saving trillions of dollars from overseas spending.
So, Anthony, what is the reaction in the audience to it? Because this was a guy, I would argue, 4 years ago, you wouldn't hear him putting caveats on some of his positions when it came to, if he didn't like a program, he would just say, I don't like this program, the implication being he'd get rid of it. And now he's saying, I don't like the program, but I'm not going to get rid of it. Reaction in the crowd.
Right. Well, I think reality setting in, Chuck. 4 years ago, we weren't at 9% unemployment. And today, those in the crowd have friends and family members who are out of job. And so they're relying on these entitlements. So I think the softer stance is resonating with the audience who've come up to me afterwards. And I've asked them, Ron Paul's message is a little bit different. He's for entitlements now. As 4 years ago, he just wasn't for the programs. And they told me that, look, we have friends and family members and neighbors who rely on these. And they find it a compassionate message from Congressman Paul. They accept that.
And it also strikes me Ron Paul wanted to go mainstream. Anthony Terrell is doing some great work covering the Paul campaign and covering Iowa for us. We'll check in again. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chuck. We'll see you.